Welcome to Apothecary After Dark.
Welcome to Apothecary After Dark. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Dina. We're the co-owners of Amityville Apothecary. You ever wonder what happens when we shut off the lights and lock the doors of Amityville Apothecary? What we talk about when nobody's around? What we think about all things metaphysical and witchy? Well, stay tuned because we have some really fun topics for you. Hey, everybody. Welcome.
Welcome. Hello.
First episode of Apothecary After Dark.
Yes.
Where we're going to deep dive into everything you wanted to know about what happens here when the doors are locked and the lights go down.
And here is Amityville Apothecary, which is the name of our shop. We are in Amityville, Long Island, and we just celebrated 5 years. So
why not celebrate 5 years with a completely new venture and assaulting you guys more than we already do?
Exactly.
With that, who the hell are you even?
Hi. So my name is Danielle, and I'm partnered with Dina.
Hello. And we are the gruesome twosome behind Amityville Apothecary. And You're probably wondering, like, how did this whole thing happen? How have we been selling metaphysical products and witchy things for the past 5 years? But I want to bring it way back. I want to bring it back to 1999.
Yeah. Okay.
1999, Danielle and I are on our way to Florida.
Oh, God.
This is my big surprise. I was like, we're going in a car. Because people are like, how do you know each other? How long have you known each other? And like, they don't really get how long we've known each other. We were living together in Astoria, Queens. We were working in the city.
We met in college.
Yeah, we've known each other for a really long time. So
this goes even before 99.
But we're in a car driving down to Florida.
The road trip
from hell.
For the millennial.
And
Y2K.
We get a blowout on the side of 95.
In Georgia.
In the middle of the night with her two younger sisters. And so, it's so funny. Like, that's how long we've known each other. This is how close we are. Mm-hmm. And so the fun, the adventure that we had that night, not knowing if we were going to get axe murdered on 95 is sort of like what we bring to this, into our practice, into our day to day, the fun that we have, the laughing and the ridiculosity.
We got to bust out the photos for that.
Oh
my
stay
God.
Stay tuned. Future episodes.
Definitely.
She has the proof.
A fun fact about Dina and I is we were born on the same exact day.
Yeah.
Almost in the same location. Both on Long Island, different parts of Long Island.
Yeah.
But September 30th, so we're Libras.
And accepting presents, belated birthday presents.
Always.
It's fine.
Libras love presents. So I'm about 2.5 hours older than Dina, so of course I'm wiser.
It's okay.
And we definitely are soul sisters that we're meant to be friends. Our lives are interwoven throughout chapters of our lives that we've always come back together. And it's odd because we've done different phases and stages of our lives, both together as well as independently, mm-hmm. without even realizing that the other was doing similar types of things.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So
I got engaged, she got engaged. I got married, she got married. She had 2 kids, a girl and a boy. I had 2 kids, a girl and a boy. I got divorced first. She got divorced. I got remarried. She got married. Not so good.
Definitely not so quick.
That's okay.
It's okay. I got out quick.
But that's okay. But it's really interesting. So, as we take you on this journey,
laid off at the same time.
Oh, we did get laid off at the same time,
part of our story.
Which ended us up here. But as we take you through this journey with us as to what we do here, all about spirituality and metaphysics and witchy things and all of that good stuff, it's important to know a little bit about our astrology because people are like, screw Capricorns or screw Sagittarius, whatever. And we have exactly the same birthday down to the year. And we have so much of the same life arc, but then it's so different at the same time. So that's always informed.
Totally.
a lot of our decisioning and who we are as people.
It's funny because once you understand astrology, you could see the differences between us because we have the same sun sign. We have the same. So we're Libra suns, Leo moons, but I'm a Sagittarius rising. She is a Capricorn rising.
Inherently better.
And you can see our strengths and how they complement because I'm like big picture visionary and I'm like, let's do this. And then she's like, let's do it. Like, she just puts it into action. So like there's so many strengths of working together as a partner. I wouldn't be able to have created this shop without Dina as my partner. And I think vice versa.
Yeah. And it's, you know, I think it gives us strength as business owners, but as people that are in a spiritual place, because it's not easy. Excuse me. It's not easy to be in partnership. It's not easy to stay authentic to yourself, but also have, you know, allowances for somebody else. Just like it isn't easy to stay married or in any type of partnership, right? So when people are coming into our shop and have questions about, you know, everybody wants to know about love, everybody wants to know about money, everybody wants to feel protected, everybody wants to be seen and valued. I think our relationship with each other is such a jumping off point for how we approach interacting with our customers and our clients because, you know, we get it. We don't just throw in the towel when things get hard. Yeah. Thankfully, they don't get hard that often, right? But, you know, so we're luckily there. But, you know, we're people, we're human beings. And even though we have the same birthday, we have different likes, different dislikes, you know, stuff that I love, she hates, vice versa. Yeah.
But I mean, like the behind the scenes grind of everything that we do, we work really hard. We're very intentional about what we do. This shop is born from our authentic interests and our authentic practice. So what I was talking about earlier, we could get more into this in future coming episodes, but you know, we talked about the similar paths. So when I was a kid, I was always into astrology from a very young age. I was always spending time in nature and immersing myself with, like, you know, making spells out of mud and sticks and like talking to the birds and hiding in trees. And like that grounds me. I had tarot cards when people were like, ooh, that's like weird witchcraft. And like, but, you know, but that's the stuff that I was into. And I know that you had, I don't want to talk for you, so.
I didn't have friends, so. I didn't have so many friends, and I was an only child for a really long time, and I was the only grandchild for a really long time, so I really like relied on my imagination. And like you, I was in nature a lot, but more out of necessity and need than because like my, you know, this was like the 70s and the 80s. We're Gen X kids. So like our caregivers were like, get out of the house and don't come back until we say so. Yeah. Right. So I would go out and just like make up games and make up things and be in nature and like hang out with ducks and all that good stuff. But I got my first tarot deck in 1994, 1995. And I am still as marginally crappy of a tarot reader as I was then.
I've always loved the angel decks and the oracle decks.
Slightly better. But, you know, always into crystals. I used to actually collect crystal jewelry. Crystals are my first love. Crystal energy is my first love. But collecting, you know, crystal jewelry. My grandparents used to take me to this like weird flea market up in Pennsylvania, and they had the silver jewelry, and I still have those pieces to this day. So always sort of been into that and the crystal meanings and stuff like that. But I think for Danielle and I both, it was a time when we had both gotten laid off and we were both sort of lost. And at this tower moment, right? We talk about tower moments in the tarot, where our lives literally were reduced to rubble and ashes. And we had this opportunity to rebuild our lives. And we both sort of looked at each other and at the same time, but also on our own, but together having these conversations, like we don't want to go back there. And so, like Danielle said, everything that we do here is from a place of us wanting to be authentic to ourselves. And it's, you know, books that we use, paths that we've taken, spiritual tools that have helped us get through really difficult times. And the thing is, though, we're not that special. Everybody goes through these moments.
Yeah. So it's so funny because I was working in corporate America doing advertising sales, and I was at a stage in my life where I was totally burned out. I was traveling like a beast, working like a beast, commuting like a beast. I was unhappy in so many aspects of my life, and I was really worn down. And as part of just reinvigorating my interest, I started, independent of work, taking astrology classes again in my spare time because it's something that I was revisiting from my childhood. I had a massage therapist that utilized Reiki on me to help balance out the extreme anxiety I was suffering. And I was like, oh, I knew that I was called. She's like, I did Reiki, and I knew I was called to learn that.
Like, what's that?
What is that? I need this in my life. So that began my journey to become a Reiki master. And I sought out who I would study under. And I dedicated years toward that training and practice. And that became an important part of my life because I knew that I needed it. And then I knew that I wanted to help other people because it benefited me so much. So because I was so completely burned out from my own corporate career, I wanted to be part of the solution to help other people because I knew if I was suffering in that way, I wanted to help. So that's what prompted the discussion with Dina. Yeah. Dina was also doing crystal healing at the time.
I was laid off and I had gotten a job offer right away, similar industry. I was working in government, which people never can understand how I was doing that. I still to this day love it.
You're good at it.
And because it comes down to helping people, like, believe it or not, like how we help people here. When I was in government, like literally like getting people's potholes filled, I was like, that was like a huge like win for me. I was like, yes, their pothole is filled. Like, because you know how annoying it is to have a pothole on your block. Let's be real, it's annoying. First world problems. So I had gotten an offer to step in at another municipality that they were closing down the village, believe it or not. They were dissolving their village. I'm like, we need you to come in and dissolve the village. I'm like, that's like the most depressing thing ever.
Sounded awful.
Oh, and the pay was good. And, you know, I have kids, married, like all signs that say like, yes, you have to be responsible. You need this money. You have to take this job. And I felt like, now I know this is dramatic, but I felt like I was walking to the electric chair. So dramatic, but that's how I felt. I'm just going to own it. And I just said to my husband, I was like, I can't do this. Like, everything in me feels like you, like, don't do it. Don't do it. And he just was like, don't do it. Just don't do it then. So I started taking classes. I took a little connecting with crystals class with Laurel that eventually came. She became both of our teachers, and she wrote a book actually called Connecting with Crystals. Maybe we'll have her come here on the podcast because she's an amazing friend of the shop. And took a little class with her, like a 5-hour class that was like located 2 hours upstate. I didn't know anybody. I just like got in the car. I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing or why I'm doing it. So I remember sitting, it was like 4 other people in this little class. I remember sitting there and everybody was like, I'm a Reiki master and I'm Reiki. I was like, what the fuck is a Reiki master? And everybody's like talking about it. And I'm like, I like rocks. I'm like, I'm just here for the pretty shiny shit, you know? And that was my thing. And I wound up texting Laurel later. She gave us her cell phone number, sucker. And and I started texting her and I was like, you're going to do something more. I need to learn more. And that's what I first fell into. And it's been my thing ever since.
Yeah.
Although I do like to light stuff on fire. But aside from lighting stuff on fire with candles and crystals, those are like my 2 main ones.
And the sound. You were also doing the sound bowl healing too.
Yes. The sound healing, I think, in the way I see sound is it's part of everything because like we're all vibrational beings. So I don't even really see like sound as a separate modality, even though it is. Like they just like work so beautifully with everything, with Reiki, with crystals, with with anything that we're doing. So the sound was just like, it's almost like a science that you need to know.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a big part of it. And now here we are.
Yeah. So at that time we were like, hey, we want to, so I was thinking about originally like taking my services into the city to provide these services to like corporations to help them balance their staff. And I talked to Dina and she's like, well, that sounds awful. I'm not going to the city.
I'm like, guess who's not going to
I guess where I'm not going to do.
I love the city in my own time.
Right.
Like when I want to be there, not, to go. I was like, I got where Danielle was coming from, because she just came from a place of corporate where she was so worn down and like just overwhelmed and anxious, and her cortisol levels. And New York City is the perfect place for that, because it's so, and this is obviously pre-COVID, we were sort of like still like a normal New York City environment, right? Where that doesn't even really exist anymore, because now people are like taking half weeks and stuff like that. But back then you had to be in the city 5 days a week. And so I got where she was coming from, but the idea of like going into the city to give people a bomb to continue to be a part of the machine I was like, I don't want to make people feel better to keep working for the man. Like, I want people to feel better so they wake up and see that there's like a better way, or like so then we're like, and she's like, oh, cool. All right. So then here we are.
Divine intervention.
Yes, seriously.
Because then then the following week, she called me up and she goes, okay, so get this. My friend is vacating a storefront. And I go, wait, what? She goes, yeah. And I think that this could be our space. Yeah. And the stars aligned. We signed the lease and we said, okay,
we pushed the rent check in that port. The guy's like, we have other people looking at it.
We're like, no, it's our space.
So we have nobody looking at it. Here's the check.
And then we said, that was like beginning of September. And we said, well, we need to be in there before the holidays. So Small Business Saturday, we opened. Like that was
quickest term.
2 months turnarounds to open the shop.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That was it. And like, it just all came together. So when you're in alignment, everything just comes together. I mean, like we hustled to get it done, but like it just naturally came together.
It did. And I think, look, it's easy. And I'm never going to feed you a line of bull crap. We hustled our asses off and we took big risks. Like we used credit cards. Like I'm going to be completely honest with you. Like if people say they want to start a business, I'm going to say you could use a credit card, but it's a risk, right? Yeah. Like you need to weigh these things. And we did these things. And, I don't tend to Danielle gets a little bit more nervous with money. I don't get nervous with money. I'm like, it's just money. But I'm lucky because I come from a place where like, I have a husband that says like, you don't have to take this job. And we did eat through our savings, which again, sometimes like I wouldn't recommend, but like.
Well, at the time I just went through a divorce. Yeah. So my money from that settlement, we sold our house and instead of me purchasing another house and instead of me going back to my corporate salary, that's what sustained me. And it was that risk, but we believed in it. Yeah. And we had people say like, wait a minute. What do you mean you're going to sell rocks? Like my parents actually said to me, like, are you having a midlife crisis? Like, do we need to be concerned here? But Dina and I had a vision and we believed in it. And we said, this is the time. It's now or never. Like, I want to take this risk and do what we believe in. And at least if we fail, we know that we gave it our all.
Right. We tried.
Instead of to not do it and then live with regret and say like, well, maybe this could have been something.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom said the same thing. My mom was like, well, are you sure that this is going to be successful? And in classic wise ass me, I said, no, I'm going to spend all this money and not sell anything.
No, we're going to.
That's typical me with my mother.
Sit in the shop.
I'm just going to sit here. So again, but we worked. I remember Danielle being on her hands and knees, sanding the floor.
Wax on, wax off.
The morning of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then she came over to my house. She's like, I was going to stay on the floor. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be home and cooking. You can come over and eat after, she's like literally like fumigating herself with like that oil-based stain. My God.
Worth it. Because we didn't have that spare money.
We didn't.
Like, we did everything.
We didn't have like spare money for like a designer or anything like that. Like everything you see in the shop, if you visit or if you visit virtually, it's all our own hands. And now we're so blessed because we grew and we have staff, and you're going to be meeting our staff too. You know, we have Vinny. He is an amazing beauty witch, right? What you consider a glamour witch, right? And then we have Samantha.
He's a licensed esthetician. Like,
right. So he's got the cred. Yeah. We have Samantha, who is our tarot reader. She's a psychic medium and she's a death witch, which I know sounds scary, but I promise you it is amazing. And you're going to learn more about that. Yeah. We have Angie, who is just sweet as pie, and she's young, and it's like she's like coming into her own. And we have Katie, who is just,
she was one of our crystal customers.
Yeah, she was like a really good customer. Yeah. We have Alex, who works on Saturdays, who like forced her way in because she just kept showing up until we put her on payroll.
Yeah. My daughter Haley, who's totally into herbs, and she really is like going along that route and, you know, loving the whole spiritual path and entrepreneurialism.
And we have Bella, who's been with us since, I think, month 3. She worked, I think, for
crystals
for free for a really long time. And she was one of our first readers, like reading angel cards and oracle decks. So she worked for free for a really long time, just like taking whatever sort of like money she came in through her readings and stuff like that. And that's like sort of how it all started with like and it's amazing how, whatever you want to call it, the universe, the gods, the goddesses, the energies, puts people, places, situations, and things in your way at the right time. And I always say, like, when people will come to the shop and be like, are you hiring? And I'm like, not that I'm aware of, but the shop wants what it wants. So, you know, give us your information, shoot us an email, tell us about yourself. What are you into? And, you know, if you're a fit, the shop will certainly make it known, because it always does.
Right. And that's in addition to our staff, we have wonderful collaborators that we work with. So like a big part of our business is partnering with small business makers and artists and practitioners. And we spend a lot of time dedicated to finding the right fit and the right partners to work with that aesthetically, like we use their products, we believe in their products. We support them, and there's a symbiotic relationship in working with them.
And growing together.
And we have countless examples of how that's worked well for our business and for theirs. And it's just been part of our fun and part of our uniqueness and part of our success. And, you know, it just blows my mind that we started with that small little shop in the front.
It was so tiny.
And then it expanded upstairs. And then it expanded to the back. And now we're actually sitting in our bookstore, which is known as the Athenaeum at Amityville Apothecary. And now the podcast is Apothecary After Dark, which was born of what we do on our Friday night sales. And we say it all the time because, you know, it's all the banter. It's all the stuff we talk about. It's all the stuff that we ponder. It's all like the conversations that we have with customers as well as with ourselves.
And the weird stuff that goes on.
There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on. Like we have spirits in the shop. I mean, our building alone it's probably almost 200 years old, as is this one that we're sitting in. So, you know, it's really encompassing. The name of this podcast, it's encompassing of everything that goes on.
Yeah.
During business hours and afterward.
Yeah.
But we live it, we breathe it. It's what we do, and it's fun. It's a lot of work, but it's also authentically like true to what we do. So
that's for sure.
I think another cool part that makes us so unique, but it's also how we created the shop. It's all the correspondences. So because everybody's journey is different, everybody's practice is different. So for me, I love astrology. I love Reiki. I love using oracle cards and angel cards. Whereas you have different strengths to lead.
So for me, like I said before, it was always really more about different crystals, collecting crystals, working with the crystal energies, laying crystals on the physical body. But what's interesting is I feel like when we first started the shop 5 years ago, it was in a little bit of a different place than it is now, right? Totally. So like as we've grown to have more books, more decks, herbs, different items for practitioners of all different paths.
Yeah.
Where I think when we first started, it was very much like from this like love and light place, which is not to say that we're not loving, beautiful people. I wouldn't say that we're like demons unless you deserve it. But, you know, now as we're 5 years in, it's interesting that we have like grown to really have different products for people that might be on paths that we're not on.
Right.
However, we also understand and value the need for people to have the paths that they connect with.
Well, yeah, to that point, I think it's providing tools for all different types of practitioners at whatever stage they are in. So if it's a beginner practitioner, it's like, explain to me why a crystal has benefit and what makes it special, to, you know, a different, more seasoned Wicca that is looking for just supplies as part of their everyday practice.
Exactly.
We have solutions and products that cater to everybody in their journey.
Right. And even if we can't speak to every practice, we have knowledge here.
Right.
Wide range of books for people to be able to learn. Because again, not every practice is for every person. You know, Danielle has, you know, a background from her family of Irish and Celtic, and that's not my path because I'm not Irish. So that wouldn't work for me. So I would never say like, here, use this Irish Celtic book, because that doesn't work for everybody. So I really love the way that we've grown. I'm really proud of the fact that we've really grown into, well, yes, testing and vetting products that are so incredibly meaningful to us, but having so much variety for any person on their path. Like, and that's what people like, I always hear the most, two people like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you have a book on this and on this and on this. And you have these herbs. And Danielle and I have this famous thing that we always say. Danielle will come to me and be like, we need to order this because people have been asking. And then we say, one person, at people.
One person.
But literally one person will ask us for something, and the next thing you know, we're like, let's get all the things.
We get all the things.
Yeah.
But then also, what I love about our shop and about our staff and about like our culture, it's like, we're not afraid to say like, yeah, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Like, I will never bullshit somebody and pretend to know something that I don't know, because this is a journey, and this is, you know, I can't possibly know all the things, and I will never pretend to know all the things. I will say, that is a really good question. Let's look into it together. Yeah. And like, then we will research it and go down the rabbit hole
together. Yeah.
And then we'll get all the things.
Exactly.
But like, we will never, because one thing that we were just talking about earlier is, in this space of metaphysics and spirituality, there are so many predators and so many predatory practices, and it infuriates and upsets us to the nth degree when people come in and they've been taken advantage of. Yeah. And, you know, people come to us and it's very personal and intimate, and people come to us during times of strife or they're seeking insight. Yeah. And we will never say like, oh, somebody put a hex on you, you know, like, give me $1,000 so that we can break it. Never. No. We're here to provide support and insight and guidance in your journey. Yeah. And we are not afraid of saying like, yo, this is something that requires like serious attention, and here are some suggestions. But, we take that responsibility extraordinarily serious, and we're
not going to feed you a line of crap either. We're not going to, you're not going to come to us with, you might not like sometimes what you hear from us, because we're going to be real with you. You know, if you're like, I've had people, because I do candle carving here, candle spell work, and I've had people ask me for candle spells. And I'm like, you don't need a candle spell. Yeah. You need to see a therapist. Yeah. Like, and you know, what kind of person that owns a business is going to say like, don't give me your money? I have literally said to people, stop buying things and use what you have. Right. Like, you have enough now. Like, now you have to use what you have. Like, we don't ever want to think, we don't want to be lumped in with spiritual predators. No. Ever.
And a reading should only validate what inherently you really know in your gut, what feels right in your truth. Like, that is the benefit of getting readings. Whatever type of reading or consultation that you get, It is to provide insight for you to then make educated and supported decisions based on your life. And it should be validating. And we can help you traverse things. But like, if you're starting to say, like, I want another reading, like, wait a minute. Are you integrating? What steps are you doing for your own empowerment? Because you always have free will. And that's what we're here to help support and facilitate and provide you the tools to do so. But, you know, everybody's path is different. Everyone's journey is different. We can provide, you know, the books on astrology so you can see what your inherent strengths are, weaknesses, ways to interpersonally communicate and connect. But like, we always have choices. We always have free will and different paces and different paths. So, I mean, you could always make a bad decision and then your journey might be more difficult, but you always have a choice, right? So,
what's a bad decision? It's just a learning decision, right?
And we're all people just looking to be like loved and accepted every day. So, you know, this is fun. It's supposed to be fun.
It is supposed to be fun,
you know,
and it's supposed to be empowering. You shouldn't feel worse off. Like, we want everybody to feel better off from being a visitor of the shop or having some type of contact with us, not feel worse about their situation.
Personal development.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
speaking about personal development, and why we're even doing this podcast, it's because we have these amazing author talks. So we have this beautiful bookshop, and so many of the authors of the books and the decks that we carry here in the Athenaeum have been giving us their time a couple of times a month. And so we're so excited to start bringing them on. You could also find the author talks on our Instagram and on YouTube. So they're always available and they're always free. So that's really exciting. Exactly. No paywalls. We're not doing that.
I love it because I think this is something that we've been doing since inception. So this podcast just formalizes it. So this podcast will include author talks, practitioner talks, staff talks. It may just be Dina and I riffing. It might be one of our partners for jewelry. And getting behind the scenes as to like what insights they have, they want to share. So like this book I pulled because it's written by Colin Bedell. And it's a little bit of astrology. There's a whole series of books called Little Bit. And this book, Little Bit of Astrology, I met Colin before we opened. My astrology teacher, her name is Maria Di Simone. She is a very accomplished astrologer. I encourage everybody to follow her. She's wonderful. And Colin calls Maria his astrology godmama. And I met Colin and Maria because I used to go to these astrologers of Long Island monthly gatherings. And I met Colin and he's fabulous. So you can follow him as well. I encourage it. And he said, oh, well, I'm writing my very first book. And it's going to be coming out soon. And I said, oh, well, Dina and I are opening our very first metaphysical shop. And he was like, oh my God, because he's from Long Island. So we said, well, Colin, you're going to have to come over to our shop and we'll have the grand opening and then we'll do a book signing event for your launch. And he was like, I've never done that. This is my first book.
Excited.
And he was so excited. And we had an event to celebrate the launch of this book for him. And he did book signings and he really stepped out of his comfort zone. And I said, well, this is what we do. We're like spiritual pushers. So we're going to push you out of your comfort zone. And it was a wonderful event. And that was like our
very first. It was probably 2019, right?
Yeah, because we opened 2018.
So it's 2019. So that was our very first author talk and book signing. So this is just sort of like formalizing something that we've been doing since day one.
Yeah, and it's a great book. It's a great introduction. If you want to learn astrology, you can get it here. I encourage everybody. It's great. He just breaks it down really simply. And then I think what was critical to the evolution of our business was during COVID, when we had to shut down the store physically. And we still were just still in our nascent years, like 2 years in. We were like, what are we going to do? People can't come to our shop. And we're niche. So we decided to do nightly discussions on Instagram. Every hour,
night.
Every day we would do a different hour-long talk. And sometimes it was just me and Dina. Sometimes we had one of our different partners. We had different practitioners. We had different topics. And we would just foster community and togetherness and connection because everybody felt so isolated and so afraid and so scared about like what is happening in the world, you know?
And we all just sort of got through it together. And I think that solidified our amazing community of people, not only all over the country, but around the world, that, you know, we were all sort of in it together, and we all learned and grew and kept pulling tarot cards about what was happening, you know, because it was scary. And that really was such a big part of like how we got here. Yeah. It's really so amazing to look back.
And then our weekly sales, our online sales, because that was born out of necessity, but then became so much part of our culture. So that when people couldn't physically come here, we said, well, we can come here and we can sell throughout the shop and hold things up in front of the camera and then send it everywhere. So that became the next phase. In addition to the talks, it became, and then the culture of the laughs that we have as hundreds of people would gather for the sales. And
things that we say.
The comments and the things that we say. And Dina would have like a claw in hand. You know, and like, but like just the ridiculousness of what goes on and like the community contribution. It's just always fun. And we try to make that educational and engaging.
So funny that you reminded me. A lot of people that are watching the sale now probably don't even know that I used to get fit sheets during the sale.
On occasion.
I don't even drink anymore. Really. No. And it's but it would be right in there.
There's always something different. Going on. Always something different going on. Yeah.
So all right.
I talked about one of my favorite books.
I have a deck, so I've been trying to call myself a tarot reader since 1995.
You're very good at it, actually.
I'm not a bad reader, right? But it's so intimidating, right? To learn 78 cards. And I'm not going to tell you that I know all 78 of these because that's crazy. Like, good for people that I could like do like a quiz and be like 5 of Cups. They're like, bop, 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 bop. Good. I ain't that. Okay. However, this is one of my favorite decks, which is Way Home Tarot, which I think is why I always had such a hard time with all of the meanings, because you really do. It's so critically important to have to get a deck where the art speaks to you. And if it doesn't speak to you, it's going to be so hard for you to read that deck and interpret what's going on. So I thought it'd be fun to pull a card. This is scary for the energy of our upcoming
collective
podcast. Mm-hmm. What everybody can expect from us, right? So this is a little bit putting myself right on a little pressure here.
I like it. You're putting yourself out there.
Holy
cow. That's what we do.
Oh my goodness. How perfect is this?
What'd you get?
It's the lovers.
Oh, I love that.
What I love about this depiction of the lovers is that you have the two beautiful doves sort of like dancing through the sky, through the open air. And I'm getting the chills because I could almost feel like the wind of the free fall as you're flying through and doing this dance. And it really does speak to Danielle and I sort of creating something new, right? In an unknown space, because when you're sort of free falling through the sky and you're in this new relationship with somebody, and even though I've known Danielle since forever, this is a new sort of relationship that we have with you guys, right? You have to have trust in the other person. You have to have trust when you sort of like take that leap of faith with something new and somebody new. So I really love this energy for us.
I love
the two of us and for the collective and what's going to be this really fun podcast.
That is perfect. It's so funny because I pulled a card before we started filming. The Light Seers Tarot is one of my favorite decks by Chris Ann, and I got to meet her.
She's so lovely.
At a recent event that we went to. But the card that I pulled was the Empress, which is all about birthing something new.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful. It was at the top of the deck because that's what I had pulled just beforehand.
It's not fun.
I love little confirmation. So gorgeous. And then also this is one of my other favorite decks with Colette Baron Reed and
that is a good
Alberta Viola. So this is an oracle deck that incorporates like main spiritual principles that transcend all walks of great collaboration. So that's one of my other favorites. So in the bookstore, we sell books and decks. So we'll have author talks with creators. Like, I gotta say, the one with Lindy from Australia was
So much
one of
fun.
my favorite author
So much fun.
talks.
She's hysterical.
Like, hysterical.
We
She's
have
Australian.
people from all over the
Yeah.
place. And as always, if you have a creator or you know a book or you know a deck that we should be looking into or a spiritual practitioner that you want to hear from, let us know.
Yeah.
Give us a shout because we, as I said, one person asks, might as well be 100 people asking. We'll bring it in. We'll contact them. We love it. So
yeah, we work with all the big
hear from you
publishers
guys.
as well as the small independent publishers. And we love meeting new people from all walks. And it's just such a fun journey because there's no beginning and no end. It's just constant evolution.
Exactly.
So there's no theme that's off limits. We actually we have like partners that are paranormal investigators.
Yeah, so much fun.
And we do movie screenings. So like we're always on the hunt.
Always on the look.
Yeah.
Well, all right, guys.
That sums it up. We look forward to talking.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks
Thanks for
coming.
hanging. We are so excited for the journey to come with you all.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Well, I think that wraps everything up for today. Thank you so much for listening to us. We really appreciate you.
Make sure you subscribe to us. We're streaming all of our future episodes as well as this one on all streaming platforms. And hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all at Amityville Apothecary.